Welcome into Hardcore Penn State Football. We are back. Lots has happened since the last time we spoke with you. Running back coach Seider has left to go to Notre Dame. Penn State hires new running backs coach Stan Drayton. A couple players retire. A couple new players get their new numbers as freshmen or transfers. Some folks are invited to the NFL Combine. And if you weren't sure, Penn State is spending a boatload of money in Beaver Stadium renovations. All that with junior days and recruiting going on in the background. Welcome back and welcome in. We'll be back in just 1 second. Make sure you're subscribed wherever the hell you're listening. Welcome into Hardcore Penn State Football. I'm Cory Lestochi. With me, as always, the great Shawn Kane. How you doing today, Shawn?
Not too bad, Cory. Another day, another dollar. How about
another
you?
day, another dollar. I don't know. Obviously, you and I were talking. I was just slurping down that orange chicken that I made. But oh my lord, it was fire. It was fantastic. I was just, for whatever reason, my wife, her boss, I forget the name of that really fancy fruit that can get delivered. Fancy fruit delivery.
Edible arrangement?
No, Harry and David fruit. This is like
a
fancy
State College staple?
No, this is like national wide whatever fruit.
Guess I'm not cultured enough.
And it gets boxed and sent to you, and it's like individually wrapped fruit and like pears and whatnot. And one of the things was oranges. So we have like a bunch of oranges. It's just the two of us. So like eating any of this fruit is kind of a pain in the butt. So I decided to make some fresh orange chicken out of the insane amount of oranges we have in this house right now.
Would have been nice to win the Orange Bowl.
It's true. Yeah. I don't know if Harry and David can help us with that. This is not a sponsor, although maybe Harry and David should reach out to us.
Hey, do it up.
If you were not
aware, there.
I don't know how much of our audience is like a huge fruit eater, but we'll see. I'll wipe my mouth. I feel like I still have like.
Whenever I'm eating healthy or dieting, I always do eat fruit. So, and I've actually been trying to lose a little bit of weight before I get married in May. So maybe I'll check them out.
Harry and David. It's not that I don't like it. I don't know how much it costs, so I couldn't tell you because it's getting delivered to us for free. But I don't know if I would necessarily pay for it, but I don't know how much it costs.
Okay.
Shawn, we're back. Been a little bit, but we're back. Penn State lost their running backs coach pretty late in the coaching cycle, if I had to argue. We thought we were pretty much solidified from a coaching staff standpoint, and that was not a pun, but maybe it was. And out of left field, Notre Dame poaches 7-year, 10-year Jaywan Seider from the running back position from the Lawn Boys and sends him over to Notre Dame. I always said, if you're never sure about why, it's usually because of money. And that's probably what happened here. Shawn, I'm going to give you a second, then I'm going to go on a rant. So please take the floor.
Boy. Yeah, I mean, Jaywan's been here a long time. His son played here. And I believe his daughter just graduated high school relatively recently. So sometimes too, people just want to move on. And I'm kind of surprised Seider stayed as long as he did. I kind of thought he'd end up back in Florida somewhere. Ends up going to Notre Dame. And that's probably the part that surprised me the most, is that he ended up at Notre Dame instead of down south or really West Virginia, because I believe he played at West Virginia, if I'm not mistaken. So that was a little bit of his tie to Penn State in the area, because West Virginia, not that far from State College. So a little bit surprised that he ended up out in South Bend. But like I said, sometimes people just want to change the scenery. 7 years is a long time to spend in one place in today's day and age. As a position coach, not even as a coordinator, but just as a position coach. So we do wish him the best of luck, even though I hope Notre Dame wins 0 games next year. I hope his running backs do well.
So I'm just going to put this out here. I think it was kind of a Bush League move.
Let's hear it.
You had 2 running backs coming back, and Nick Singleton and Kaytron Allen, whomps you recruited. I'm assuming at some point you recruited to get them to come back for another year and or not hit the transfer portal. You even tweeted, ready to run this back one more year with those 2 specifically. And so I know coaches say those things and move on in other circumstances, but in this specific case, I think it was Bush League. And on top of that, to go to the school that knocked you out of the college football playoff? Are you kidding me? So no, I think it was a pretty kind of trashy move by Jaywan Seider. I thank him for his time. I think he was a very good recruiter. I think he was an okay developer. We've had those conversations on this show before that he didn't necessarily develop running backs extremely well, but he recruited the hell out of them in other positions.
Yeah, that's not sour grapes either.
No, I'm not thrilled with him, just to be honest with you. I think for a lateral position, I think it's Bush League to leave 2 guys that you recruited, and we're going to be the first 2 guys that recruited and stayed with you for their entire tenure on campus. And then to leave right before their last year for the lateral position at a school that knocked you out of the playoff. That's pretty crappy, man. That's pretty crappy.
People ain't loyal. I mean, that's kind of coaching carousel, I guess. Cory, why does it keep saying we didn't update this as the scroll?
Oh, because I didn't update it.
Okay.
It was a good reminder that I need to update that.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, I mean, people just aren't that loyal, and I think Jaywan Seider probably didn't think twice about going to the school and knocked us out. And I don't know, maybe it's not even right to say he's not loyal, but like I don't think coaches really think about like, oh, this school knocked me out. I think he kind of just thought, well, I want to get away from Penn State. And here's a good opportunity, and Notre Dame is a good running
but why
back
now
themselves. I don't know. Kids are growing up. I don't know.
But he already had said he was ready to run him back.
People say a lot of things. And I think people and coaches, like one of the funny things that I always get a chuckle out of is when coaches just like reminisce about the good old days when everybody was loyal.
Right.
When did that happen with coaches? When were they really loyal? Like you just hear people, now the players could portal out, but to hear it from coaches, I mean, I just kind of think it's rich to hear them talk about loyalty and staying with the program and seeing it through, and then they go and jump ship like that. So I don't disagree with you that it's crappy, but it's just kind of the business, I guess. And as far as like how it's going to affect Penn State, I think it's going to affect us the most recruiting in Florida, and because he was our tie to Florida. Now Penn State has recruited Florida pretty well since he's been there, and that means other guys have a chance to dip their toe into Florida. And the program itself has ties, and James Franklin has been able to make relationships, and that's one of the things that James Franklin thrives on, is making relationships. So Seider was the inroad. I do think it helped having him himself there. But I do think we're going to be set up decently for the future, and Stan Drayton ain't no slouch as a coach.
No. I guess we can move on to that, but I wanted to just get my 2 points in there. One Take State says, I told my boss I was going to do my best at work. I lied. LOL. So, Stan, the man, Drayton. We had pointed this out back on X at Hardcore PSUFB, I guess 12 days ago now, that Drayton was a running backs coach at Florida when Penn State offensive line coach Phil Trotwine was playing at Florida. He won a national championship with Florida. He also won a national championship at Ohio State with Urban Meyer. So the former Temple head coach has done it. He's won the big thing multiple times and didn't do great at Temple, but that's Temple. And seems to be a very good, as good of a well-known name you could probably get for a running backs coach, and snagging Stan the man Drayton.
It's funny to me that there's only really been two coaches to succeed at Temple, and that's Al Golden and Matt Rule. Because you'd think it's Philadelphia, even like, okay, you're not going to get the guys to go to Penn State, Ohio State. You're not going to get those guys, but there's a lot of talent there that could do well in the American Athletic Conference. I'm surprised that they don't do better, but that's an aside. Stan Drayton, very impressive resume as coach in the NFL. Like you said, he's won national championships with Ohio State, with Florida. He also did well at Texas, developed Bijan Robinson. So he's very well decorated as a running backs coach. He's one of the best. He's one of the best in the business. I believe Pete Thamel said that his deal is going to be north of $1 million for a position coach, which is new.
Money, here comes the money, money.
That is new territory for Penn State to pay north of $1 million for a position coach, but that's how you got to be. So I think Penn State got themselves off the mat with losing Jaywan Seider, and look, it's a loss in recruiting, but we have talked before, and again, this is not sour grapes. Now that Jaywan Seider is gone, we're gonna say he wasn't that good, but proof is in the pudding. Like, his guys didn't dramatically improve from the day they stepped on campus to the day they left. He was more I'm going to go acquire a lot of talent and they're going to play well. Where Stan Drayton, I think, has a little bit more of a track record of development, but you might not get the recruiting that Jaywan Seider was able to provide.
I agree with everything you just said 100%. The thing to me is I just feel like recruiting running back at Penn State is never going to be that hard of a thing to do. I just
still living off that Saquon.
Yes. I mean, you could argue that Saquon is, I saw the other day, somebody that was visiting Penn State, they said that he could wear 26 if he came to Penn State, or Saquon said that he would let him wear 26 or something like that. I saw that on X a couple weeks ago.
Like, I know Saquon signs off on 26.
That to me is like, it's affecting the recruiting more now than maybe it did a couple of years ago. Like,
yeah,
Saquon was probably a household name to everybody a couple of years ago. I know he won Offensive Rookie of the Year, but like, it dwindled down a little bit there when he was at the Giants and he was banged up. Everybody knows who Saquon is again. Your mom knows who Saquon is. Your sister knows. Your wife probably knows as well. And I think that's helping. I think that's helping tremendously. So I don't know how much it's really going to matter losing Jaywan Seider, specifically the running back side of things. And, I want to say Landon Tangwall for the Bloggy. They did some really good analysis on like recruiting Florida in the past. Hasn't really worked out for Penn State a lot of the times. A lot of times these kids ended up transferring, leaving. Yep. There hasn't been a bunch that have stayed with the program and had a massive impact. Well, hopefully that will change with Belgrave Shorter and John Mitchell and some others. But it hasn't been a great track record for the last, say, 5 to 10 years or so. So we'll see. But I think you're right. Like, I think from a development standpoint, this might be a little bit of a step up if definitely not a step down.
No, I don't think a step down. I think they're right on the same level. And like Drayton never even was a coordinator, and he still became a head coach, which is pretty impressive. Like there aren't a lot of coaches that could say that. But he is one of them because he was thought of so highly. Now, of course, it was at Temple, but that's still a FBS job. And like we said, Temple, tough place to win. Historically, a very difficult place to win. But doesn't really matter because we're not hiring him as our head coach. We're hiring him as our running back coach, and I'm very happy with who we were able to bring in. I gotta say too, Franklin's 2 for 2 with running backs coaches. Charles Huff is now a head coach, and Jaywan Seider. I know he got a lateral job, but did well here, and I have all the faith in the world that Stan Drayton's going to do a nice job here as well.
All right. Let's move on. Real quick, I'm just reading some of the comments here. Wyatt Dodson asked about spring games potentially being canceled. I'll just quickly answer. I don't think it's going to get canceled. Kraft was asked about like what the stadium would look like during the spring game, and he said it might look different during the spring game. So spring game scheduled, spring game is happening at least this year.
I think Franklin said it's going to happen too, but it might look a little different.
Right. I mean, like for example, Tony Rojas is potentially a little banged up right now. Like, I don't really know how many of those guys you were going to see even in previous years, but I feel like you're just going to see even more young guys.
Yeah, like it's a pretty veteran-laden group. Like there are a lot of guys that could have went pro this year that decided to come back.
Right.
So, like I could tell you right off the top of my head, Jarrell's not going to play much. Dick Singleton, Katron Allen, Zachy Wheatley, Drew Shelton, like probably even Vanga. Like there's just not going to be a whole lot of guys playing, which is good. That's what you want. You want to have enough experience on your team that you could give give vets a rest.
That's right. One Take State said that of all the running backs in Jaywan Seider's time, he thought that Journey Brown was developed the best. I got to remember
Very good
too,
point.
But Journey Brown wasn't recruited by him, correct? It would have been halfway through his tenure.
No, I don't think it was halfway through. I think Huff recruited him, and then I think Huff left, and then Seider. So I think he was there Seider's first year, but I don't think he recruited him.
Okay.
No, well, you have to give him Journey Brown. Journey just had an unfortunate thing happen.
Yeah, for sure. Other thing One Take State said, because he got their exact right, Saquon would deliver the 26 jersey, whatever that means.
Oh, that's cool.
Take that for what you will.
And it's nice having Saquon so close too. Like I gotta think he'll be, I know during the football season he's busy, but on bye weeks he's not. And I think he's already been to a whiteout game. I think when we played Auburn, he was on the sideline for it. And now he's such a big celebrity, as big of a celebrity as he's ever been.
Right.
Like I think it's the first time he's been like super mainstream.
Right.
Like football fans,
like pop culture wise.
Yeah, but like my fiance follows him on Instagram. That's just now he's in that realm.
Wyatt says what I would have done to watch Journey Brown continue to play after the Cotton Bowl. Yeah. Could have been a fun year with him, Micah. Fryermuth
played, but I think he ended up shutting it down. He got banged up and ended up shutting it down. Yeah, because we were off. I think we were like 0-5 at that point. And then ironically enough, we ended up winning our last 4 games.
All right. What do we want to talk about next? Let's talk about Sean. Did you find the list of all the 2 players that retired? I could probably find it if you didn't find it.
I did not. I only saw Addison Penn.
I thought there was someone else. Offensive lineman Addison Penn definitely retired.
Yeah, I mean, I actually Googled it.
Xander Zahadak.
Oh, yes, Seider retired.
Potentially going to play golf.
Look, my man.
So, relatively important news from the standpoint of depth at the kicking position.
Yeah, I mean Chase Meyer's still there. I think for now. I don't know how much longer he'll stick around.
Yeah, I thought he was done after a year, but maybe I
Was
was
he
wrong.
done after this year?
I can double check that while you continue to talk.
Okay. Yeah. Man, Seider had a strange career. I mean, I think
Chase Meyer is listed for the 2025 football roster.
So he's back. So we have a backup kicker. I mean, thankfully, knock on wood, kickers usually don't get too banged up. But you never know. I remember who was the kicker that got hurt celebrating? I think it was Martin Gramatica. It was a long time ago. He ended up jumping up in the air, and I think he tore his ACL. So it could happen, but usually you have to do something like that. And I think Gabe is back too, right?
All specialists are back. Gabe Nowusu and Tyler Duzansky at long snapper. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Chase Meyer actually has his freshman season was 2022. So he
This would be a senior year then.
Well, they have it listed here on the roster that he technically redshirted last year.
Oh yeah, he didn't play last year, so yeah, we could have him back for 26 as well,
potentially. So
if he chooses to stick around.
Who said there was an off season? We're talking about kicker depth on February 24th.
We're 3 deep. I don't know if Gabe can kick field goals, but
no, probably not. So Addison Penn, Xander Zahadak. That's why we went down that tangent for a second. Sean, did you want to talk about any numbers? Should I just run through the numbers real quick that were assigned to the different players?
You could run through them, and then I do have thoughts on.
Okay.
Well, the one everybody has thoughts on.
Oh.
6.
Okay. I think he was on. Was he on Landon Tangwa's podcast lately? I didn't watch it.
But... he wasn't on, but he talked about him.
Oh, okay. All right. Anyway, jersey numbers for Penn State freshmen and transfers. This is actually brought to you by Joel Haas over at the Daily Collegian. Number 3 goes to wide receiver Kobe Howard. Number 5 goes to the corner Darius Dixon, which I think me and Sean are pretty excited about, without asking Sean, but I'm pretty excited about him. Number 5, great number for receivers, goes to Devontae Ross, the transfer from Troy. Number 6, wide receiver Matt Matthew, or Matt now. They're listing as Matt, which is weird to me because I think we always called him Matthew Outen beforehand. So it's gonna mess me up probably his entire career now because I had it trained. His brain is not a brain that you can untrain easily.
Going by a nickname, he got all cool on us.
That's right. Number 11, linebacker LeVar Arrington II, which Sean's going to talk about in a second, but Abdul Carter came out in defense, which I'm curious what Sean's take is on that in just a second. Number 11 on the other side of the ball, the wide receiver Kyron Hudson, the transfer from USC. Number 14, Braz Thomas, the safety. Number 16, quarterback Beckham Kritza, another Florida guy. So there you go. Boomerang. Number 16, safety King Mack. Coming back to Penn State.
What number was he at Penn State? He was 10.
Ooh, I think you might be right.
Yeah, I'll have to Google it while you read through.
Okay, please do. 9. I think he was 9.
Yeah, I think you might be right. Yep, number 9.
Running back 9. Tiki Hayes is number 23. Alex Tash comes in at 25, which I think is such a great white linebacker number. I think that fits very well for him. Transfer Owen Wafley. Never going to get that right either. Number 34. Deshaun Burnett, highly touted defensive player there, defensive end, number 43. Transfer from A&M, defensive end Anai White, 45. 51, Michael Trotman III, another highly touted offensive lineman there. 52, defensive tackle Randy Edrica, which hopefully there's a paprika sign in the crowd this year for that. 54, offensive lineman TJ Shanahan, the transfer from A&M as well.
Yeah, another A&M guy.
Yeah. 77, offensive lineman Owen Allisine. 81, wide receiver Lyric Samuel, one of my personal favorites. Maybe a little Terrell Owens vibes there. Number 83, tight end Brian Kordovich. Number 1, tight end in the country, number 88, Andrew Olish. 98, kicker Matthew Parker, which I do not know much about, just to be honest with everybody.
Walk on.
And number 99, defensive end. I'm not even trying to pronounce it because I can't even get it right.
Ivan. Yep.
Kamaju.
Kamaju. That's what we're gonna go with for now.
Kamaju. I think that's right.
Yep.
Before you get to your thoughts, I'm just gonna throw out a question to you.
Yeah.
And maybe I'm wrong on this, but I think you'd have to probably go back to the 90s. I think you'd have to go back. I feel pretty, well, maybe I'm going to be wrong after I say this. I feel pretty confident that you have to go back to the 90s to come up with a wide receiver that was really good, that was number was in the 80s. Not tight end, wide receiver.
It's tough.
I'd have to think about that hard. About even in the 90s, I'm sure there had to be somebody, but I'd have to think about it. Might even be going back further than that.
Kenny Jackson, I know, was 80. No, yeah, was he 82?
There's a couple on my list. He was 82, but I think there was somebody more recent than that. Yeah.
Yeah. But like even in the 90s, like Bobby Ingram was 10. Freddie Scott was 31. OJ McDuffie was 24. Bryant Johnson was 24. So like even guys that played a while ago. Yeah, not a lot in the 80s. That's an astute point.
I'll look that up as you continue.
Yeah. So I do want to talk a little bit about the number 11, LeVar Arrington II, getting number 11. And, you know, our mind does funny things sometimes. And I think this is one of those. I think people just kind of assume it's due to nepotism. And granted, there's a certain degree of it here. But most guys that wore number 11 wore number 11 from the beginning. LeVar Arrington, Micah Parsons, Abdul Carter. Now, Navarro Bowman and our good friend Brandon Bell ended up getting 11 later in their career. But I don't think there's anything wrong with LeVar Jr. getting number 11, being that he's LeVar's kid. I don't know why people are. I don't think it's a huge group of people, but I think there's a lot of like, wait, what did he do to deserve it? What did Micah Parsons out of high school do to deserve it? What did Abdul Carter out of high school do to deserve it? Nothing. They were all just guys that were hyped up a lot. And LeVar Arrington Jr. is a really good prospect. So to me, some people that have an issue like with it, and I don't think it's a huge number of people. I think it's more so people that are just looking for some off-season controversy. I think people are just kind of assuming it's nepotism, but I don't really. I think if you're just looking at it that way, you're kind of missing the forest through the trees a bit.
Yeah, I guess I agree. You know, one thing that we got feedback on the podcast is that sometimes there's like random pauses, and it's not that we just have. Well, I'm not saying we have very good production, but it's not that we have bad production. It's just sometimes I'm just looking at Sean, and like if you're watching live, you kind of understand what's happening, but if you're just listening, you just think that I don't know, not doing what I'm supposed to do. Which, if you know, we were getting paid to do this, I would argue maybe we would have somebody that would cut out those things for us or something like that. But anyway, I was just staring at Sean, trying to think about what I wanted to say, because I don't disagree with you, but at the same time, See, I'm pausing again. I do feel like it has. You got to decide what you want it to be. Is it going to be like number 0, like what they do with Dom DeLuca and Jonathan Sutherland before? Like, do you give it to the special teams guy? Like that's what 0 is, right? Like special teams, above and beyond kind of guy.
Yeah, I think that's what that is.
Right, which is fine. But do you want 11 to be in that same category of like it is awarded to a player that is a beast? Like if not, that's fine. But I think you're running a little bit of a risk by giving it to freshmen. But I understand your point. I also think
Well, yeah, the guy better be good.
if you're going to run the risk, at least running the risk with the guy who kind of started the whole thing's kid is a pretty good time to run that risk. So I don't disagree with it.
And we've already done it.
Ali's comments saying that Landon did a historical overview of number 11, and the highlight is that earning it wasn't really a thing. So there you go, Sean, backing you up there.
There you go.
I did, by the way, find who I thought was, but I didn't. I'm just be honest with you, I didn't want to be wrong because I was already wrong like 4 times on this episode. Joe Juravicius was the one that I was thinking of, but wasn't positive of. That was the 90s one that I was thinking of. That I'm like, I'm pretty sure he was, but I didn't want to mess it up.
Brett Brackett.
Yeah, but good.
Brett Brackett was pretty good. He's about as good as Harrison Wallace.
Yeah, that's not good. That's not
well,
good.
Define good.
I mean like Joe Juravicius. I mean like Jordan Norwood, Dion, like top 15, top 20 wide receivers. Very few of them have 80 numbers.
Okay, yeah.
I think Kenny Jackson, Joe Juravich might be the only 2. I'd have to really think about it.
Yeah, and Brett Brackett was kind of like
a tight end. He was as much of a wide receiver as Mike Gesicki was.
Essentially, yes. Just not as athletic.
I love if somebody can tell us who we are forgetting from a wide receiver perspective that is in the 80s.
Some smart guy might say Mike Gesicki.
No, yeah. Matt Lehman. Was he 80? Who was 84?
He was a tight end, though.
Yeah.
84.
He was 84. I know he's a tight end, but I'm just... So is Gesicki, technically.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think either of them were... Was Lehman a good blocker?
Kyle Carter was 87, right?
He was 87. Yeah, we've had lots of good tight ends that have been in the 80s.
Right.
But, yeah, your point's a good one. I never really thought of it.
We can
we have to start talking about like Brandon Mosby Felder then, and it's like they were really
quick question on Brandon Mosby Felder.
I don't think we've ever mentioned his name on here.
You know what? I know we did mention him one time when we had Hack on the show because I always thought that his throw to Hackenberg or his catch from Hackenberg in the Michigan game was one of Hackenberg's better throws of his career. The one in the back of the end zone early in the game. I always thought that was one of Hackenberg's best throws that kind of went unnoticed because everyone talks about the play later on, but thought that was a fantastic throw in the end zone. But anyway, I knew I brought that up to Hackenberg. So we have talked about Brandon Mosby Felder at least one other time. But what I wanted to say about Brandon Mosby Felder is, did he cut his own sleeves? Like, did we not have the ability? Go look up a picture of Brandon Mosby Felder. Did we not? He like cut his sleeves, I feel like, because like
really
we could have completely got him a short sleeve shirt. And I feel like most of the times his sleeves were like cut instead of just wearing a short sleeve shirt.
Oh, I could kind of see it.
Yeah.
I never noticed, but now I see it.
I don't know why that sticks out to me, but
a lot. Brandon Mosby Felder, like the amount of Google searches tonight, it's just going to be randomly increased. Like nobody's Googled this man in a long time, and then
Corey brings
10,
up
10 to 20 people just it just randomly skyrockets.
I've been holding on to that question for decades. So I guess 1 decade. Never have brought that out before. So I got things in this. People have been listening to the show for a couple of years now. Think you've heard everything from us. I still got random things in the brain vault that just seep out of there from time to time. All right. We talked about numbers. Oh, let's talk about the NFL Combine, which I think we have some breaking news that came out like an hour or two ago that I don't know. Sean, if you know? Maybe
Was
you
it
know.
about Abdul Carter?
Yeah, okay, you know.
Okay. Yeah, I won't step on you there.
Well, you kind of, I mean, you didn't step on me, but you didn't burst the bubble, but you definitely blew it to where nobody could see it.
I gave a preview.
Yeah, for sure. Before we get to that, I had probably the dumbest tweet of my life at 10 a.m. yesterday. The pep rally. I could have swore at the end of the pep rally, they all put ones up and went like doing the Abdul Carter celebration. They're just doing the Nittany Lion celebration. And I tweeted that because I thought they were all, some of them did have their hands like up kind of like that, but they were probably just doing a Nittany Lion celebration. But I thought it was Abdul Carter. They're giving a love to Abdul Carter.
You got a lot of likes on the tweet though, so maybe you're not the only one that saw it.
I think a lot of people thought that. One or two people called us out for it, and I was like, you know what? Didn't really feel like kind of admitting I was wrong today, so I'm not doing it, but I'm doing it today. So you go watch and you be the judge, but I'm pretty sure at least one or two people kind of gave a little bit of a gesture that they were, no, definitely not. It's definitely the Nittany Lion thing. Whatever. Why am I trying to find it? Okay. Players going to the NFL scouting combine. At least that were invited, I should say. Defensive end, Abdul Carter. Tight end, Tyler Warren. Linebacker, Kobe King. Safety, Kevin Winston Jr., blast from the past. And safety, Jalen Reed. That was brought to you courtesy of Seth Ingle, who is now working for statecollege.com. Rest in peace, Ben Jones. I'm sorry, I don't know why I did that, but I thought it would be funny. Sean, we thought a couple of people got robbed there.
Yeah.
One that I didn't think of right away that I think is a very good one was offensive guard Sal Wormley. Not the first one I thought of, admittingly, but I thought in hindsight, I was like, yeah, not a bad call out there. Sal Wormley didn't go. Devon J. Thomas didn't go. Sean, there was another one that you and I had thought of, and now I can't think. Amin Vanover. Amin Marijuana over.
We could say that now.
We can say that now. He's no longer.
Yeah, certain people didn't like us making jokes like that. So
his Amin Penn State career over. That's bad.
It's
anyway,
bad over now.
Very surprised by Amin Vanover. I feel like if Amin Vanover played for a different team, he would have gotten invited.
Yeah, I think so too. Now, a situation like this is why it's good that we have a pro day, and we're gonna have lots of people at our pro day because everyone's gonna want to see Abdul Carter and Tyler Warren, and people, and I think Penn State's gonna be kind of the center of the NFL universe that day, where pretty much everybody's big scouts are there, and people will be looking at the guy next to Abdul Carter at defensive end. And a big reason will be because they didn't get to see him at the combine. So, I mean, Vanover has a chance, still in my view, still has a chance to get himself drafted. And I feel similar about Sal Wormley. Sal Wormley played a lot of football here, experienced guy, and did well. Was able to hold off a guy like Cooper Cousins, who everyone and their brother has been raving about, and was able to hold off JB Nelson, and there really was never that much drama with it. Sure, he's got limitations, of course, but I still think he might be a guy worth taking a flyer on. Devon J. Thomas, maybe a little less surprising, but I still think Devon J. Thomas is a really, really good football player here. I'm not entirely sure how he translates to the next level, but I think he'll at least get a camp invite from someone.
Hunter Norzad didn't get invited to the combine, did he?
I think he did.
Let me look that up. I'll look it up. I
Yeah,
feel like he.
Think he
You think
did?
he did?
Yeah, because I remember him. I remember him getting a lot of hype before he came here for the draft.
I guess he did.
And then he did end up getting drafted by the Chiefs.
Yeah, I guess he did get. Did he do everything though? No, he did not run. Maybe that's why I didn't think of it. He didn't do it. I don't know if he did anything. Is he still banged up?
I don't remember him getting hurt.
No 40, no 10-yard split, no vertical, no broad jump, no 3-cone, no shuttle. I don't see a bench. I don't see a bench. But he did get interviewed, so he was there.
Yeah, then he must have been banged up then. Yeah. Yeah, because he was, he did like the whole press conference thing and everything. He got drafted earlier than I thought. He got drafted.
Well, that's what I was thinking. That's what I was going with. Is like Cy Wormley could theoretically be that kind of guy that didn't get a lot of headway, but still get drafted. I was thinking Hunter Norzad, but Hunter Norzad did get drafted. So there goes that theory.
Norzad's more athletic though than Wormley. I think that might hurt Wormley a bit.
I mean, here's the thing with Wormley. He has a lot of experience. My thing is they're like against top tier talent. He got his butt whooped sometimes.
Yes, he did. Yeah, there's some bad tape out there on
the Tyreek Williams of the world ate his lunch.
Yeah, but he played well against Oregon, and Notre Dame. So he has some good tape, but there's quite a bit of bad out there with him.
But we learned that Oregon's defensive line, as far as run stopping, not as good as that we thought. Or I didn't think that.
Soft. But we ran the ball well on Notre Dame too. So
that's true. Don Hartman on YouTube said he was most surprised by Devon J. Thomas. Thought Izzard deserved an invite as well. So
yeah,
love for Kazai Izzard. What I was going to break that Sean already broke. Abdul Carter planning to work out during Penn State's combine, not at the NFL combine. Penn State's pro day, technically should use the right words, not the NFL combine. So that will definitely attract more attention. And it's kind of cool because it's going to make some scouts go that maybe wouldn't go. And there's going to be some guys there, the Izzards, the Javonte Thomases, the Wormleys of the world are going to get a little bit more attention because, hey, you're already in the middle of nowhere, State College. You might as well stay for the whole thing.
Yeah, no doubt. So people will be there, especially now that I was actually going to say this, but I don't want to totally jump on you. That it's going to help Vanover because people will be there to see Abdul Carter because he did not participate in the combine. So that's going to be more of an incentive to come up to State College. Because a lot of people too, they kind of know they're not going to draft Abdul Carter because he's going to go in the top 3. I'd be surprised if he fell out of the top 5, even with the apparent shoulder injury that he's still dealing with. I don't know if that's going to be an injury that's going to cause him long-term issues in the NFL. But Amin Vanover will be right there with him in drills in that position group. So I think, and the one thing we know about Amin Vanover, well, maybe, I guess the pro day isn't the best place to say this because he is a gamer. Like, I think he's probably one of those guys that's better in the game than at practice, but I don't know that for sure either. So I'm kind of talking out my rear end a little bit.
Nobody knows because nobody gets to watch.
Yeah, because I didn't see him in practice, but I know he's a gamer, and I know he's going to turn. I know if you turn the tape on, you're going to be impressed with him. I think a lot of it's going to depend on how he tests.
I think he's going to test very well.
I think so too. Like, I think he's faster than people think. What?
Unless it's for THC.
Abdul too.
No. Anyway, before we get to the renovation side of things, two random former Penn State quarterback things to mention. Well, Sean, one close to you. Does it affect your politics? I think it does.
Yes.
I'll start with that one since I kind of just teased it. Boston College is hiring former Penn State quarterback Matt McGloin as an offensive analyst with Bill O'Brien. Sean, you know better than I do. He was the commissioner out in Scranton. I don't know what that actually means, like what he did day to day. But just to be clear, he had to literally resign from his job that he did win in like an election. Like somebody had to vote for him, and he had to resign to go become an offensive analyst. Like bold, isn't it? A little bit.
A little bit. I'm a little upset with them. Can't lie. Because I mean, here's a little background on Lackawanna County politics.
Okay,
the deficit.
I'm sure this applies for everybody that's listening.
Oh yeah, deficit was way worse than they initially thought. So McGloin gets in there along with his other guy, Bill Gaughan, whose name I'll never say on the podcast again. And
Bill Gaughan?
His name's Bill Gaughan. And they inherited like a big deficit that they didn't even know existed. They knew there was one, so they had to raise taxes. So Matt McGloin's getting out while the going's still good before they have to raise the taxes as much as they have to. And he's taking an analyst job at Boston College. So he's really abandoning us in our time of need. But, you know, what are you going to do?
Who's counting?
It's just funny because he was like, you know, I belong in this area. And well, apparently you don't, Matt. Apparently, I don't know. I'm not going to rip him too hard, I guess. But he is abandoning us. So you could have just served out the rest of your term. But hey, good luck.
How long is a commissioner term?
I think 4 years. I think.
Okay. I had no idea.
Yeah, we have 3 county commissioners and then we have the mayor.
So they're just basically the step down from a mayor.
But
for a county.
So yeah, they're the people in charge of the county. You know, the mayor.
Do they have their districts inside of their county? Or is there
it's not like that. It's just
the whole county.
Whole county.
And they're all equally as important from each other.
Yes. Now in Lackawanna County, not to get too into the politics, there are 2 Democrats and 1 Republican. McGloin was one of the Democrats. So he, so yeah, he's out. And we'll see who they. I think there's going to be a special election.
I don't know how any of this works. Is there the same?
I barely do either.
Is there the same number of commissioners per every county? Like, does every county have 3?
I think it's 3 in every county. Yeah.
Yeah. So I didn't even know that.
I think. Don't quote me on that though. But I think it's 3 in every county in the state.
Okay. Pennsylvania politics.
You know Seider counties?
I could not tell you. I know. I know one of the. I should even say this without knowing for sure. Let me just double check. I know that. Let me see here.
This is where off-season rabbit holes get us.
I want to say that Pat Romano.
That name sounds familiar.
Who owns the We Are In and is very invested in Penn State. I don't know if he ran for board of trustee member as well at some point. But he owns the We Are In Phillipsburg, and they're putting one in over where the Damons used to be, or what was after that? The Lettermans.
Lettermans, yeah.
They're putting another We Are In there. I believe that owner, Pat Romano, I believe he ran for that commissioner job, and he's a huge Penn State. He does a lot of stuff for NIL, like fundraisers, like he cooks food. He does a lot of stuff. He does all that good stuff. He during Wing Fest in the summer, he's always up there as well. But I'm pretty sure he ran for it. I don't think he won. So I don't know who my county commissioners are.
Yeah, that I don't know.
But there we go. The other news, Pat Kraft mentioned at Thon. Shout out to Thon, by the way. Mentioned there that Trace McSorley would be taking a job within Penn State football. I don't know if the specifics, Sean, have come out on that.
No, not that I've seen.
So we don't know what that means. But I believe our buddy Higgins said it best. Maybe it provides just a little bit more oomph, a little bit more pizzazz, a little bit more moxie to the quarterback room, perhaps. Hopefully that doesn't lead to become an analyst at Boston College.
Maybe he'll be the next Lackawanna County commissioner. Move up
Actually,
here.
people are, because Matt McGloin did work for the athletic department. He did some of the
yes, he did.
Like I don't know.
I think he did sideline reporting for
like sideline reporting, like podcasting kind of stuff. Maybe Penn State athletics is a pipeline to the Lackawanna County Commissioner's office. Have we thought about that pipeline? We always talk about coaching trees. Have we talked about coaching trees? I mean, Adam Brenneman got into politics there for a little bit. Might be onto something here.
Maybe.
Probably not. All right. Renovations. Pat Kraft spoke today about a lot of different things, talked about maybe they'll get a GM at some point, talked about how good of a job James Franklin's doing as far as acquiring roster management and acquiring coaching staffs. Talked about how Penn State basketball still stinks. Talk about how awesome Cale Sanderson still is. All the things that you've typically heard. But did talk a little bit about renovations. I mentioned, the spring game's going to be a little bit weird. Sounds like the West temporary seating is going to look a little strange, but from a capacity perspective, should be about what it's supposed to be come next football season. But they're live at work. Renovations are ongoing right now. Some more information about those came out a week ago. Nothing crazy. I mean, the pictures look great. I mean, there's going to be more bathrooms. There's going to be more things to eat. There's going to be 2 new clubs, which are probably going to be too expensive for you and I, but who knows? Maybe there'll be a more affordable club. One definitely didn't seem more affordable. The only thing that was actually really interesting to me, Sean, of all of that, was they're still going to have some bleacher seating at the top. I think it was like 11,000. So there's still going to be some bleacher seating, which I'm kind of surprised of. They made it seem like it was going to be a little bit wider or whatever the case is, but still going to have some bleacher seating in a new stadium renovation, which I'm kind of surprised of.
Yeah, I remember when the initial plans came out, and those initial plans were a bit rough. Like, one thing that I was disappointed by was the bleachers seem here to stay. At least at this end of the stadium. I don't know what'll happen. Like, I think eventually they'll get to the rest of the stadium. But who knows? That's probably gonna take a while. But like, one of the things that I did want was chairback seating. Just because it gets so hard to navigate in there. Like, and you have people digging into your knees digging in the back of the person in front of you, and vice versa.
Gotta have seat backs for that, man. It helps so much of that.
Yeah. And I'm one that, now, a lot of people would disagree with me. I don't really care that much about the 107,000. If that means we have to take out some seats, personally, I'm okay with it. Now, I know some people would disagree, but I'd rather it go to even 98,000, but everybody gets a chair back, except students. Students don't need one. But that's just me. But I do, and one of the things that I was in favor of, one of my conversation with our friend Mike Higgins, and he had this idea once. We could do standing room only seating, and I think a lot of students would buy a lot of the standing room only seating, because they may not want to pay for a whole season of season tickets. But they might buy a one-time only ticket for the Oregon game. Like, I think that would be a good way to negate any kind of loss of seats from having seat backs.
Right. Yeah, and I mean, hockey does it, and it seems to work very well. And I mean, honestly, some people would prefer to stand. So, and
yeah, I think you get a lot of people.
Yeah, some people don't sit anyway. So, the Orange Bowl, I stood for a lot of the game, and I had a lot of old people behind me yelling, and I was like, I don't care.
I'm surprised there wasn't more standing at the Orange Bowl.
You mean like standing room, or just people standing in general?
No. People standing in general.
People did definitely stand, I would say, most of the time on defense. And then at the end of the game, like, I would say most people were standing. But you know how it is.
Yeah. Yeah. Like the big games are really the only ones where people stand from the beginning of the game to the end of the game, in general. But the Orange Bowl was people. I mean, it was.
I think certain sections did. I think the section I was in
Yeah.
was a little bit different.
Yeah.
But
If
they
you're with,
figured it out.
you got them going eventually.
I got them going. One Take State says Pat Kraft might be the greatest dude I've never met and only listened to. Just listening to him talk makes me want to run through an iron wall for him. He is the missing link we've always needed.
He's done a good job.
Yeah.
Because Cory and I were both a little skeptical of him at first.
With the Shrewsbury loss.
Shrewsbury lost, and then it just kind of seemed
honestly,
like he.
I know Shrewsbury's thinking right now Notre Dame, but that one still could potentially. We'll see what happens long term here with Rhodes, but you could argue it might take Penn State literally another decade to recover from losing Shrewsbury.
Maybe. I mean, he might have just been a flash. He might have just been a flash in the pan too. But yeah, I think.
Maybe.
I think my concern about him for a while was, is he, all hat no cattle, as they say down south? Because he's always been, high energy guy and everything, but nothing was really happening in the athletic department. I was like, well, we're still behind on everything. These renovations haven't happened. And then the renovations have happened, and we're catching up on NIL. And we just went and poached Jim Knowles from Ohio State. So I can't really complain that much about money right now. The renovations are physically happening at Beaver Stadium. So yeah, he's got some cattle with that hat.
I'm not gonna say anything, but I don't have anything to say to that comment. No, you're right on. You're right on. He's doing a good job. Would like to see him get a new women's basketball coach. Not that this is a football or a women's basketball show, but
yeah, they're awful.
That time to move on there. Don talks about his seats being at the 50-yard line in WEU, and he's worried that he will be frozen out of them. Honestly, I don't have a good answer.
Yeah, I hear you. That's tough. I think my buddy, my other buddy Mike, different Mike, his parents are WDU, I want to say. So they're a little bit not too far up, but I think they're going to be impacted by these renovations, because their seats seem to be like right where the luxury portion is going to go. I should ask them about that.
Don, maybe they'll just give you free luxury clubs. I'm sure that's something they'd be willing to do.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I mean, you can go read the thing. There's nothing like, they tell you the number of suites, and they tell you number of escalators, more Wi-Fi, more lighting, more video board stuff, but that's the basics of it. It does look pretty cool. It is going to bring it in closer. That's the last thing I wanted to say. Yep. It's going to bring the west side in closer and more slanted. And so it theoretically could be even louder on the west side. So take that for what you will, which is kind of scary to think about.
Yeah, and the west side is where the opposing team, where their sideline is. So it's going to be even louder for them to hear during timeouts and just running out on the field. So, yeah, overall, it looks cool. Looks like a cool ID. Looks, all the schematics look cool. And I think a lot of it's going to be done for the 2025 season. Definitely not everything, but I think a lot of it is going to be done for it.
We'll see.
What's that energy?
We'll see. Hey, we'll see. We'll see.
Where's the press going to sit this year?
I didn't know about that.
Yeah. Next time we get a journalist on here, we should ask him, be like, where are you guys going to sit? Are you going to be amongst the general population, or?
Yeah, they're just going to put them right next to me.
We'll tell them what to write.
Rivals, this is how I wanted to wrap up the show. Rivals came out with their top 100 players in college football. Drew Aller comes in at number 8, Nick Singleton in at 31, Devontae Ross at 48, and Deni Dennis Sutton at 85. First of all, I think Deni Dennis Sutton, crazily underrated. Katron Allen not being on there, crazy underrated. But I do got to say, I mean, I don't think Drew Aller should be 8 either. But you know,
No.
how quarterback situation is nowadays. Like, I get it, whatever. Devontae Ross at 48. If the whole list is pretty much terrible, but if anything sticks out to me that might be somewhat important, is Devontae Ross sitting there at 48. I don't know how much of a bump he gets for being at Penn State now versus Troy, but like that, if you're optimistic about anything on February 28th, 2025, it's Devontae Ross sitting there as top 50 player in the country.
Devontae Ross is the top 50 player in the country. Probably go to the title game this year. Just gonna put that out there.
Put the ring on it.
Like, for real. Like, if that's
if Drew Aller is a top 10 player,
I would probably win the national championship. Like,
yeah.
For real. Like, I'm not even kidding. But yeah, I mean that was also the most surprising thing on the list. Of course, Penn State fans are perpetually feel disrespected. So the first thing they ran to was no Katron, no Deni Dennis Sutton, which I agree with. They should be on there. But like I was looking, I was like, guys, Devontae Ross, they have him as a top 50 player, and they have Drew Aller as a top 8 player. Drew Aller, no disrespect, kind of threw up all over himself in the Orange Bowl. And Devontae Ross is from Troy. And there's some good players in the on the FC. He's not even FCS. What am I talking about? On the non-Power 5, non-Power 4 level, but that's very, very high. So I think it's a bit of a mixed bag when it comes to Penn State players. Another guy that I think could have been on the list was Zakee Wheatley. I think he was playing like one of the better safeties in the country down the stretch in the playoffs. I think he actually was playing his best ball late in the year. So to me, he could have been on the list. But yeah, the two things that really surprised me was Drew Aller and Devontae Ross being as high as they were. And keep in mind, no disrespect to Devontae Ross, I haven't watched a ton of his highlights. So
how about AJ Harris?
AJ Harris could have been there. Yeah, I think he quietly had a great year last year. Not just a good year, like a great year.
Trying to think if there's anybody. I didn't think too much about who they could have missed.
Yeah, like I know some people might say Tony Rojas. I don't think he's a top 100 player. He has moments where he looks like one, but you got to do it consistently.
Right. No, I agree with that.
He might end up being one by the end of the year, but I wouldn't say so right now.
Yeah, but it's fun. It's a fun conversation to have as we head into the winter workout part of the world. Sean, do you have anything else before we get out of here?
Did we have any questions?
Oh, yeah, we did. We do have one question. Great question, too. This question's from Mudbug, the winner of the 2024 Pick'em. First of all, shout out to Mudbug. So I'm glad you reminded me. He said, hey, guys, wife and I welcomed our second son to the family a few weeks ago. Hope all is well. Trying to think of a fun off-season question. So
congratulations,
Mudbug and Mudbug wife. I feel like that's disrespectful. Mudbugette.
I don't want to say Mrs. Mudbug.
I like that.
Kind of flows good together, though.
It flows very well.
Yeah.
Congratulations, Mrs. Mudbug. Hopefully, Mrs. Mudbug is doing well. Hopefully, your
Mudbug Junior.
Mudbug Junior is doing well, and all the best to you. Thank you for reaching out to us, and we will hopefully have your management's got to get on it a little bit. They haven't even sent out the stuff for the Pick'em winners yet, so hopefully that gets there in time before next season starts. Mudbug. His question. Let me go ahead and just record that real quick. If you had 3 wishes for Penn State football, what would they be? can't wish for the obvious national championship. But you know what he forgot to say is you can't wish for more wishes. So boom, I'll take 500. Okay, 3 wishes. What would your first wish? Give me all 3 of your wishes. How about that?
All right. First one.
Sorry. Before you go, Donnie had a good point on YouTube. Zane Durant should have also been that top 100.
How do we think of Zane Durant?
Yes,
Very good one.
Great point, Donnie. Okay. Start over. 3 wishes for Penn State football. What would they be, Sean?
Number 1, a stud receiver in the portal in the spring. I think that's one thing that even Pat Kraft talked about it today at the press conference. That's how important that is, that even the athletic directors are getting in on it. I would say maybe a big NIL donation from one of the quote unquote whales. Terry Pagula, if you're listening. I know he has the ice arena, so he kind of thinks I'm done. But we're once again asking for your financial support, Terry. And then the last wish. I know people criticize us for pausing, but I had one.
I can add one if you
All
need
right,
me
go
to.
ahead. Go ahead.
How about just not saying Kobe King wasn't that, but we need another really good middle linebacker.
That's a great one.
Just Kobe King wasn't bad. I think he was at times not great, but they need another Kobe King this year, and I don't exactly know who that's going to be yet.
Yeah, that's one of the big question marks. Maybe I'll say a stud defensive tackle. Somebody to make some strides there. Because when you lose as many defensive tackles as we did, and Alonzo Ford's coming back from injury, so you don't know how ready he's going to be. And Oregon comes early this year. We play them at the end of September. Now, first 3 games, we don't play anybody really. So, you'll have time to work through some things. But then Oregon's our Big Ten opener. So that's that. I don't want to say it's a rude awakening, but you're going to have to be awake for it.
Take State took it more of like a genie approach, like magic involved, and he said, "How about a kicker that never misses?"
I'll take that any day. Like, imagine if you went into a game just knowing your kicker will always make it. I guess that's how Ravens fans felt with Justin Tucker for all those years.
A little bit. Yeah, not anymore.
And now they feel other things when they think of Justin Tucker.
That's a good one. Take State. Thank you, Mudbug. Thank you, Mrs. Mudbug, and thank you, Mudbug Jr. Although we don't know his first kid, if it was a boy or a girl, because theoretically that would have been Mud. Do you always give Mudbug? Do you always give the junior the first kid, or I guess not necessarily, but
could be like George Foreman's kids. George II, George III. He named all his kids George.
Oh, I didn't know that. I don't think it works that way. That shouldn't work that way.
It shouldn't. Yeah, it's.
How did JT Barrett become the 4th? Was there really 4 of them?
What's his real first name? Is like James?
You're like asking questions I don't know.
Yeah, maybe like James, maybe JT the first was James, and then somewhere along the JT, maybe it was John Thomas Barrett, and then somewhere along the line, one of them started calling themselves JT.
I'm trying to figure this out before we go.
Do you just realize JT Barrett went by JT Barrett the 4th? I don't think I noticed all while he was at while he was at Ohio State.
He had the 4 on his jersey.
I know. I think I was just watching a game, replay of a game where he was in, and I was like, I never noticed he was Barrett the 4th.
I did not know he played on the Edmonton Elks there for a little bit. He's currently, he was hired this year as a Bears quarterbacks coach.
Oh, good for him.
So Ohio State quarterback. Now the quarterback's coached under Ben Johnson there.
You're getting old. JT Barrett's a coach.
I forgot he got a DUI back in 2015. I did not remember that.
I did not know that either.
I'm just on his Wikipedia page, just pulling up all his dirty laundry for no reason.
What is his name?
Oh, yeah. Joe Thomas Barrett.
Joe Thomas Barrett.
For his ACL in high school. I didn't know that. It doesn't say a whole lot about his family. Joe Thomas Barrett the third?
GT3.
I'm not getting anything here. If anybody knows more about, do you think I could like 23andMe him?
Look at the JT Barrett family line.
It's probably like, well, you don't watch Game of Thrones, do you?
Never
So if I
seen
made
it.
like a Targaryen joke, it would go over your head.
Yeah.
Donnie thought it was James Tiberius Barrett. No. One Take State says, it's baby season. I go tomorrow for the first appointment for my first kid. My nerves going harder than Saquon versus the Rams. Congratulations, One Take State.
Congratulations.
I guess
Yeah,
that
that's
will
awesome.
be one Take State Junior coming your way. Or you
Second
just
take.
go right to the fourth, because I have a feeling that I was not for Joe Thomas Barrett's. But
well, why do you think I don't think he just picked the fourth for no reason.
I feel like he very well could have just picked the fourth for no reason. I think I might start going by Cory Lestochi the seventh. We'll see.
That almost sounds like a pope.
Yeah, it kind of does. That are they looking for one of those right now? What's the situation over there?
Francis is not doing well.
Yeah. Hey, you know what?
Hopefully, he pulls through.
Was there any conspiracy that the reason Matt McGloin resigned was because he was going to become the next pope?
No, but I could definitely see it, because I'm assuming, everybody's a Catholic here, so I'd assume he is as well.
I bet he needed to make himself available in case the Pope chose him.
Well, have you seen the movie Conclave?
I've not. Oh,
yeah.
No. The only Pope movie I've ever watched was like Angels and Demons.
Oh, yeah. Like Conclave, which is up for, I actually went to the movies and saw it. It's up for a few Oscars this year. It's just ironic that, Pope Francis might be on his deathbed and there might be a conclave while the Oscars is going on featuring Conclave.
It seems like I need to watch this movie. A little bit Pope, little papal politics.
Yes, it's actually really good.
I thought Angels and Demons is very good, just for the sake of throwing that out there.
I'll have to check it out. I actually never saw it. I remember seeing commercials for it, but
yeah, it's very good. One Take State says Conclave was excellent, so there you go.
Yes, definitely see it if you haven't.
All right, we're gonna get out of here. But I want to give a shout out to Penn State hockey, beating number 1 Michigan State in a shootout and then beating them straight out on Saturday night. They are really kind of moving in the right direction right now.
Yes.
Play at home this weekend.
And wrestling's still really good.
And wrestling's still very good. Thank you for listening. That's Sean Kane. I'm Cory Lestochi. You've been listening to Hardcore Penn State Football. Don't honestly know when we're going to be live again. Don't expect it to be too long, but also no promises.
All right. Everybody have a good night.